The air was thick with anticipation as the crowd gathered in the town square. It wasn't often that Senator John Kennedy came down to speak directly with the people, and tonight, every inch of space was filled with locals, students, and even reporters. Cameras flashed, microphones were thrust forward, and a quiet buzz hummed through the audience. But amid the energy and excitement, one man stood out, a liberal journalist known for his sharp tongue and ruthless reputation. He had come not to listen, but to tear Kennedy down in front of everyone. The event began smoothly. Kennedy's words flowed like water, steady, warm, and full of wit. He didn't speak like a polished politician. He spoke like a man who grew up among the people, who knew their struggles and their hopes. Laughter broke out when he slipped in one of his signature down-home metaphors, and the crowd leaned in closer, hanging on every word. But then, like a storm breaking through a sunny afternoon, the journalist rose to his feet. "Senator Kennedy," the man sneered, loud enough for all to hear, "don't you ever feel embarrassed? You parade around with your country sayings and folksy humor, but the truth is you sound like an uneducated hick. Don't you think the American people deserve a leader who can speak with sophistication, not one who sounds like he just wandered out of a barnyard?" The crowd gasped. Some laughed nervously. Others shifted uncomfortably, unsure of what would follow. The insult cut through the air like a knife, cruel and deliberate. Kennedy paused mid-sentence, his eyes narrowing just slightly. For a moment, it seemed as if he might fire back with anger. But then, he did something no one expected. He smiled. "Son," Kennedy said slowly, his voice calm but piercing, "you may not like the way I talk, and that's all right, but let me tell you something. Folks don't care if I sound like Shakespeare or like I'm fresh off the farm. What they care about is whether I tell them the truth. You see, big words might impress a room, but honesty that speaks to a man's heart, and hearts don't need translation." The square fell silent. Even the journalist shifted uneasily, as though the ground beneath him had just crumbled. Kennedy didn't raise his voice. He didn't lash out. Instead, he carried himself with a quiet authority, the kind that comes only from knowing who you are and refusing to be shaken. But Kennedy wasn't finished. He stepped closer, locking eyes with the journalist. "Now, I grew up in Louisiana, and yes, I still talk like the people I grew up with. That's not ignorance, that's staying true to my roots. And if you think a man's accent tells you his intelligence, then maybe the problem isn't in my words, but in your ears." The crowd erupted in applause, cheers echoing off the buildings. Some people even stood on benches, clapping wildly, shouting Kennedy's name. The journalist opened his mouth to reply but quickly shut it again. There was nothing left to say. He had been defeated not with insults, but with grace, wit, and undeniable truth. As the noise settled, Kennedy delivered the closing words that would linger in every mind present. "Respect doesn't come from how you sound. It comes from how you live, how you treat others, and how you stand when someone tries to knock you down. And if being plain-spoken makes me unworthy in your eyes, well, I'll take that over being dishonest in everyone else's." The square went quiet again, but this time with reverence. People realized they had just witnessed something more than a political speech. They had witnessed integrity in action. When Kennedy walked off the stage, his head held high, the journalist slipped quietly into the shadows, his confidence broken. But the people stayed, talking in hushed tones about what they had seen. Parents leaned down to their children, whispering, "That's how you stand up for yourself with dignity, not cruelty." And as the night came to a close, one thing was certain. Kennedy had not just silenced his critic, he had given everyone present to listen in humility, authenticity, and the power of staying true to oneself. It was a response that would be remembered long after the lights dimmed, a reminder that real strength is not in shouting the loudest, but in standing firm when others try to tear you down. By the end, the crowd walked away with more than a story of a man who shut down a mocking journalist. They walked away inspired, reminded that no matter how the world may try to belittle you, there is unshakable power in being unapologetically yourself.